Well, today's the big day. We're gonna put the cylinder and piston back on this 2100 Husqvarna, and I guess I'll just walk you through what I do. Spin you over here to the bench, and we'll get started. So I've already got this thing all cleaned up, where I let it soak last night. We'll get you in here a little closer. So what we're gonna do is put the piston on. Now on these pistons, there is a little arrow that shows where the exhaust is, which it's hard to see on this after I clean it up, but it's right here. And what we're going to do before we really get started good is we're going to bring the crank up to top dead center, and we're going to hit it again with oil, just to make sure that when it starts, if it starts, that it doesn't start dry. Just going to really be careful not to put it on any of the sealing surfaces, which I just done. It's really no problem. I mean, just take your rag, brake parts cleaner, spray your rag, and then wipe the surface back down again. And while we're here, we'll just go ahead and wipe the whole surface down. All right. Then what we're going to do next is I'm actually going to use the oil this time. I'm not going to use the gas mix. And we're just going to take and put on this bearing. Try to give everything as best a chance as it can possibly have. Then we'll set the bearing inside of the connecting rod, just like that. Next step, get your piston. We're gonna go ahead and put one of the clips in. That way we got somewhere to push the wrist pin to. Can you believe I set them down right here? All right, I'm back, but you know, the floor is usually a pretty good job at catching everything. So we'll get this piston out, and we will work on it in a minute. So I already know that the front is here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this clip in on the off side. That way I can push to it, and it'll stop the wrist pin from moving. just like that. Now we've already got the bearing in, and it's got oil on it. So the next step is to actually take the wrist pin. We're going to clean it. We're going to put a little oil on it too. Because like I said, I want to give it all the opportunities I can possibly give it to run. Just coat the wrist pin pretty good. Now we're going to take the piston, take this greased wrist pin, line up the hole, and we're just going to press this dude in. And well, I'm going to take my screwdriver insert it into the end of the wrist pin and give her a little twist. And now she started in, so now we will get everything lined back up again, hopefully, maybe. And then I'll take this screwdriver again, give her a little roll. Of course, when you're videoing something, it don't want to cooperate. I'll get this thing pushed in and I'll get back with you. All right, well, I got it seated in there. So what we're gonna do now is get this other clip, and we're just gonna clip into the side of the piston with it. Now, I do it with a pair of pliers. Well, I got something to grab a hold of. I know there's people out there that's probably gonna fuss because I'm leaving the end on that thing, but you know, it was like that when it was new, so why change it now? Just gonna take it and just keep rolling it until it rolls into the groove, just like it. Now I like to put that part down. That way when the piston travels down, it's not as prone to bouncing and bounce the clip loose. So now I have that done. Next step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my ring compressor, figure out which one I've gotta have. That one right there. Try to center the ring gap where those little pins are there. So what I do, I don't know if it makes any difference or not, but that's what I do. Now, we'll take this cylinder, throw a little oil down in inside the cylinder. Give the piston something to slide against instead of just sliding bare metal to bare metal. We'll get just a hair bit more and put in there. Be pretty liberal with it. So now I got a good little healthy coat of oil in there, so we're good on that. Next step, we're going to wipe a little on the piston. And like I said, we're going to try to keep it off that sealing surface. That's pretty crucial. So we're going to get the skirts. And then we'll work our way up to the rings, and then we'll put a little bit on the rings. I mean, this thing pretty much had to come apart anyhow because the top ring on the piston was stuck. So now we got a little lubrication on this thing. I'm gonna put my oil up. Take some brake parts cleaner, spray my finger off and get all that residue. Get it off. So I don't want oil in, like I said, on the sealing surface at all, because I'm gonna come in and put a little moto seal on the sealing surface on both the cylinder and the block. And it don't take much, just a little dab will do you. Let me angle you down here a little bit more and I'll show you what I'm doing. Just squeeze out a little bit on your finger and just kind of dab it on really light. I have had saws fail before because the cylinder come loose from the block. Took me a while to figure out what was going on. I just thought I had an air leak, but I did. I had a massive one. It was running more out than it was putting on top of the piston, so it was having struggle in running. And we're gonna put this stuff together before it ever cures. It's not like RTV silicone gasket maker or anything like that, where you sit and let it have a little bit of time to cure. This you want to put together as wet as you can possibly keep it. So we're just gonna smear this down real thin coat. All it does is fill the imperfections. It's also gasoline resistant, oil resistant. But brake parts cleaner will eat it. I'm gonna do the same up here on the saw on the block, or the case. We're gonna put a little bit on it. And it don't take much, you know, a little bit of it will go a very long way. Just make sure you got everything coated. And what squeezes out in the block is not going to hurt anything. You can wipe off your extra that squeezes out on the outside. So now we'll get the ring compressor out. Make sure that the rings are centered with the pins, just because that's what I like to do. Take the ring compressor, just barely hook that top ring. Now we'll take the cylinder, put your finger under the piston, keep your piston from moving. Now we got the piston on. We're gonna hold everything still. Come straight down with the cylinder. Cylinder's installed now. Next step is to get the bolts and put the bolts in. We're going to take those and clean them up with some brake parts cleaner. And then we're just gonna drop it down the hole, just like that. I'm gonna do the other three, and I'll be right back with you again. All right, so I got all 4 bolts in the hole. So now we're gonna tighten them up. And it takes a 5mm Allen key. Gonna work opposite corners. And now I'm gonna take my little wrench. Doesn't matter what size wrench you use. And all I'm gonna do is just snug it good. Not putting a lot of force on it. Just trying to get an extra eighth of a turn or something, not much. So I don't want to break them off in there. And as you can hear, everything seems to be doing pretty good. That's how you put the cylinder on 2100, or how I do it. Next we'll start on this carburetor and get it all cleaned up and see what we got there. So let's go ahead and unplug the fuel line. I just done it to keep it from pouring something out, whatever's in there. And there's something in there. So now we're just going to get to the carburetor, which is a Tillotson. If I can find you a model, I'll show it to you. This one says 613 6C7. It's a pretty good sized carburetor. It's got a pretty good sized hole in it. So we're going to take it apart, if we can get it apart without just tearing everything up, and probably hang a gasket in it, more than likely. But I'll have to order one because I don't have one here just handy laying around. And this is going to be the meter and diaphragm side. So we'll check it out, see what it looks like. Let's see here. We'll take a screwdriver right here and we'll pry up. Break it loose, lift up on the whole deal, and of course it's stuck on all sides. No, this is the pump side. This is the pump side of it. Thought it was a meter inside, but it's not. It's the pump side. I'm sorry. Everything seems pretty good on it. It's soft, which is what you want. Yeah, it's still fairly soft. We're good on it. I don't see anything in this part of the carburetor. I don't see any signs of dirt. So I guess we'll go over here, swap over and go to the meter inside now. I was wrong earlier, I'm sorry. This is the meter and diaphragm side. The only Tillotson I ever worked on was like a HL88 series, like on what's on the 090, 070 steel, and also on like the 141 McCullough, 250 McCullough. Which I don't mind the HL88. They're not bad carburetors, they're just big. Just prise up under, be able to get the cover to lift off. And that thing seems okay too, but we'll go ahead and, if we can get it raised and get it pulled off, we'll look underneath of it. But I don't suspect there's anything in this carburetor, because the fuel inlet side didn't have anything. This thing should run. Yeah, it's soft too. I mean, it's pretty good shape. It's usable. So we'll look down in here, and of course it's just as clean. So we'll put it back together and put it back on the saw, and then see what we got from there. Now we're going to get to installing the carb in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to first put the choke on, the choke control. Then we'll install the fuel line. Next, we'll put the throttle linkage in. Come from the inside on it. We'll go ahead and push the throttle down so we can get this to snap in this little plastic where it runs. And I may have messed up. No, I didn't. We're still good. We're still good. We're still running the right direction. So we'll get our air horn now. we'll get the long bolts, and this one here on this side we'll have to run through that mount. Just make sure everything's clean when you reassemble. So we really don't want anything to get in here now, since we done all this work to try to keep it clean. All right, then we'll take the other bolt. Right here. Take it, and we'll run it in over here. Get everything lined up. And then we'll start tightening it down. May have to lift up a little bit. There it goes. All right, and then we're gonna insert our Allen key in here and just turn it just a little bit. We're not trying to break anything. A lot of all this old stuff you can't buy. Put the recoil system back on, and we're just going to spin it over with just the recoil system on. And I'll give this thing a good bath before it goes back home. Or at least attempt to get it cleaned up. And then we'll see if we have any spark. So right now would be a good time as any. Oh no, that ain't good. It ain't good at all. So I guess we'll take this thing back off and figure out why he just done that. Now, I'm gonna lay this thing up here. I'm actually gonna try to hook this. Not sure how it went originally, or where it went originally. I think it may have went in like this. Just went in through the fins. About like that. Probably need to come on up to the top, but I think that's how that goes in there. Like I said, I don't get to see something like this every day. Yeah, that should be it right there. So I'll lay this plug up here, whip it over, and see if I can't see spark. Which I'm not sure which way this kill switch even works. It's it being broke. And we do have spark. So we're good on that. Next I'll pull compression on it just to kind of see what kind of compression we got. So I'm just curious. Ooh, we're gonna set that thing down. All right. We still got a little bit more compression we can get out of her. But I can't stand to pull that over very much. That hurt the old wrist a little bit. So we got plenty of compression in here. Compression's not an issue. So we'll take the compression gauge, we'll put it back up. And now we're going to finish buttoning up everything else. So we'll get the spark plug installed. Well, I may put it in the sandblast cabinet first and clean it up and then install the spark plug. Just give me a little bit and let me get this thing cleaned up. I want to see it run before, you know, start putting a buku of money in parts or anything. All right, so I got a little ahead of it and went ahead and installed the spark plug, which is no problem to put in. Put the top cover on, which is just reverse of what I done when I tore it down on camera. So the next step is we're gonna put the muffler on. And we'll get to the air filter in a minute. Want to clean it. So I got the muffler right there, which the outlet for the muffler is right dead up front. A lot of people will take those things and gut the muffler completely out on them. Especially like the 266s and things of that nature. So we'll take that, and we'll just take all this, just like that. Put the gasket on, well, drop everything first, and then put the gasket on. I'm getting good at just dropping stuff. And we're gonna leave the muffler intact. We're not gonna gut it. We're not gonna do anything crazy with it. And we're just gonna line the holes up here. I'm gonna take that 10mm socket and run this dude on home. Well, that's not the 10mm. That's the 11. But it does well enough just to get started. Well, now I'm going to have to find this 10mm. But I think I just answered my own question, because I remember yesterday it was a deep well. And I remember seeing it laying up here. So we'll just start moving things around a little bit and find it. And I'll be back with you when I get it. All right, well, I'm back. I found it. It was sitting right in front of me. I just need to look a little harder. See if I can't get this thing to roll into the other gear, the go forward gear. All right, I guess the next step now is make sure the air horn's cleaned out. And we won't worry about the air filter just yet. We'll put the handle on, the bar on, we'll put it on. Which should be easy enough. Just like that. No, ours a little bit more involved. So what happens is, on this is your anti-vibe, and you'll have to have it, their counter-vibe or anti-vibration setup anyhow. So what you do with it, get it lined up, and then you put your handle on. Take one of the bolts and just start running them in. Now this is the right socket for that. And I'm going to have to figure out something to put in as an isolator for the anti-vibration. Because it don't have anything. Now we'll take right here and put this bolt in here. Should be one more bolt laying up here on the bench. It's probably hid by everything. I really need to do something up here to make more room on the bench top. Well, let me come up with a bolt, and I know I pulled off all 4 of them, but I've rolled this stuff around quite a bit since then, so let me try to find it and I'll be back. I just keep losing stuff today, but I guess there's always going to be days like it. Alright, well, I got it. My dad burn hammer was in between me and it. So we'll put this one in now. And then we'll get the ratchet and we'll start tightening all this stuff up real good. Come over here, do the same thing. And she should, in theory, technically be ready to run. Now, I'm gonna see if I can't get somebody to come over here and pull this over and get it to start for me. Still having a little trouble with the hand, so I don't want to aggravate it no worse than I have to. And this is an awfully big saw, and it does not have a decompression on it. I think it's like 99 cc's. But you got the operator switch here, operator presence switch. You push it, you pull your trigger up, and then you take this right here while your trigger's pulled up and push it down, and it will lock the trigger so you have the fast idle. Choke works, fast idle works, throttle moves. So we're doing pretty good. Like I said, I'll get somebody to come over here and pull on this thing and see if I can't get it to start for me. Well, to all you guys over in YouTube land, I did get it to start, and I done it myself, but it's a little aggravating. There you go.